12th house year is a time of introspection. It's also about exploring ways to grow spiritually. It's a time of being able to release a lot of the things that bound us and kept us in, subjugation, I guess, spiritual or emotional subjugation. Repressed things that we haven't really addressed, and also allows us to get on our karmic path. A lot of the things that block us from being able to evolve in this lifetime is hidden things that we have repressed because we just don't want to deal with it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Bianca. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be talking about the 12th house year. It is when there's a lot of emphasis in retrospection, retreat, focusing on rehabilitation, healing, and things that are associated with transcendence, spirituality, meditation, things like that. There's a lot of high focus on that. And I mean, mainly to prepare you for your first house year, which is the following year after that. And also your Jupiter return. It's almost this pulling back before you get launched forward. I chose this topic because I am currently going through my 12th house year, and I thought it would be fun to do a video committed to how to navigate this time. The 12th house is considered the hidden house. And so a lot of people might feel, fear when it comes to transits in the 12th house. A lot of people will say this is a year in which they're just not seen. So if you're interested in learning more about the 12th house year, keep watching. So let's just quickly touch on what a house is, because I don't want to make any assumptions here with anyone coming to this channel. But a house is a segment, one of 12 segments on a chart. It's associated to a part of your life. There are 12 houses, and those 12 houses are associated to a certain part of your life. So for example, second house would be associated with resources and money, what you own, what you have, what you possess. Fourth house is family and physical home. Seventh house is relationships, one-on-one relationships. How do you relate to others? The 10th house is about public reputation, status. How do you interface with the world? And the 12th house, I mean, again, I didn't go through all of them, just skipping along. The 12th house is the last house before you get back to the first house of self and identity. And it's very Piscean in nature, which means that the veil can be very thin, and we're dealing with spirituality. We're dealing with how do we connect with source, right? How do we connect with other realms beyond this plane, this material plane? Any planets that are in the 12th house can be indicators of addiction, ancestral trauma, skeletons in the closet, because it's a hidden house, considered a hidden house. And but it could also be areas where you remove yourself from society in order to rehabilitate for various reasons. So it could be a hospital, it can be ashrams, it could be retreat centers, it could be asylums, it could be prisons. So it could be anything that you are being removed from society to rehabilitate in some way. And then also it's a transcendent house. So it's going to be associated with connecting with, again, the source, whatever spirituality that you, dissolving one's ego and one's sense of self to merge with oneness, right? To seek oneness with the universe. Okay, that can be done by meditation, by prayer. All those types of things would fall under the 12th house. 12th house transit can really have a transformative impact on a person's life. It's an area of healing. It's an area where you can really take a second. I mean, think about our current lives. And even like nowadays, it's really busy, but even back in the day when we're talking about like people having to, farm and work the land and work really, really hard, the idea of retreat and restoration has always been kind of an elusive thing for us. We've always had trouble as human beings learning how to connect, to rest and just restore ourselves. It's always been something that's been really hard, no matter what, because there's always been something we've been going after. So the 12th house really can be a transformative period. It also illuminates traumas and things that have been hidden for a while, can allow you to face those things and explore healing through the activations in this house. So in order to know, what your 12th house is, you would need to cast your chart And in order for you to cast your chart and know your 12th house, you would need to know your birth time. I can do chart reads without birth times, but this, in order to do a 12th house year type of thing, you would usually have to do have to have the time and have a chart that indicates, okay, this is where your 12th house is, and these are the planets, this is the energies around the 12th house. But I do have a little bit of a cheat that I will cheat for this, so that at least you can know what is going on energetically with you, so that you can kind of work around this energy. So the 12th house year, again, is a focus on the themes of the 12th house, usually started on the person's birthday. So it's associated to certain years in a person's life. This approach of associating a house year, or emphasis of a house year, to a specific age actually helps people who don't have birth times, be able to at least understand what's going on with them, the energies that are going on in a particular year. So for example, we know, and I'll put up the chart, that 12 house years usually occur they do occur at age 11, age 23, age 35, 47, 59, 71, 83, 95, 107, and if you're very blessed, 119. So those are the ages in which the 12th house years happen. Now, if you don't have a chart that has the specific birth time, and you don't know exactly where your 12th house lies on your chart, you can still know that you're in a 12th house year by your age. Think about when you're 23, think about when you're 11. The themes of solitude and honestly confusion, sometimes a little bit of, depending on where you're at and how the placements are, it could be a little bit of a, not crisis period, but it can be, right? Because it's illuminating things that it's literally lifting up the rug on a lot of topics that might be suppressed, that have come up in your life so far, and you've kind of just tucked them away. Yeah, if you don't have your birth time, that's a good way of just at least knowing, like, this is what we're dealing with this year. If you don't have your birth time, you won't be able to do the more advanced techniques. So if you do have your birth time, and you know what sign occupies your 12th house, you just go to the ruler of that sign and find where that ruler is on your chart, and it will add another dimension of information about how your 12th house is going to manifest. So for example, if the 12th house is occupied by Taurus, the ruler of Taurus is Venus. Venus is going to, maybe Venus is in the 7th house. Relationships are going to also illuminate some of the themes and highlight things that you might need to work on. Maybe a relationship ends up being really toxic, and you start questioning, maybe I need to retreat a little bit. Maybe I need to take some time and really think about, what am I doing here? Again, 12th house year is a time of introspection. It's also about exploring, ways to grow spiritually. It's a time of being able to release a lot of the things that bound us and kept us in, subjugation, I guess, spiritual or emotional subjugation, repressed things that we haven't really addressed, and also allows us to get on our karmic path. A lot of the things that block us from being able to evolve in this lifetime is hidden things that we have repressed because we just don't want to deal with it, right? And so it's a time that, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to address those things. And, if you ride that wave a little bit and you accept those feelings and the challenge of, taking a step back and evaluating things, you can actually gain a lot of perspective and have a lot of growth in that year. And I feel like, speaking, I should probably be a little more personal about it. I thought when I first started my 12th house year, as I was approaching my 12th house year, and I'm talking to my astro girlies, and we're trying to I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm like, how am I gonna navigate this? And honestly, I really thought that I was just gonna do a lot of escapist things. Escapism also rules Pisces. It's a Piscean trait as well as a 12th house trait, where again, you're going into the mist, right? And sometimes some people don't know how far to go. So it ends up being an escapist thing because you're trying to escape the reality of your life. And so something to think about. So I thought that I was going to be that person who was just watch a whole bunch of videos, catch up on a whole bunch of Netflix, read a whole bunch, and just avoid people. And I realized that there's more to that. There's more finesse to that. And so that's something I learned. And obviously there's high vibrational ways of approaching your 12th house year and low vibrational ways. Issues come up that leave you asking, you know, what do I need to let go of? And in order to move forward in a specific area of my life, in order to move forward in my life completely, it makes you have to confront unconscious patterns to again, just move forward. We have high vibrational ways of approaching the 12th house year, and then there's, you know, low vibrational ways of doing it. There's things that serve our soul, and there's approaches to interfacing with the 12th house year that can create more chaos and difficulty and challenge in your life. So let's talk about the things that the 12th house year can provide you that's positive, and how if you have a positive perspective, how it can benefit you. And so the 12th house year can be a time where you can face your shadow self. Again, the 12th house is aspecting your identity and how you see the world and how people see you. And it's aspecting, the 12th house is right next to the first house and of self. And so that is, you know, astrologically a blind spot. Well, it's practically a blind spot. And so things in the 12th house are, again, really hard to see. And people will hide things there. I just had done a Chris Watts video, and I found that he had a lot of his chart spoke to repressed energy. And that's really, really hard, because what ended up happening is there's moments in time where those things bubble up, and, you know, it manifests in a negative way. So in his case, I mean, he had a desire for, you know, potentially more sexually intense things, more just, you know, he had a conflict when it comes to wanting simplicity and just, you know, simple relationship, you know, stability, that, you know, cookie cutter life. And then he also had these urges of wanting something more. And that type of stuff, like how he dealt with it, at least as far as the chart's concerned, you know, like he just tucked that part of him, the part that is more taboo and has, like, really speaks to his deep desires, like he just tucked that away into his 12th house. And so again, the 12th house is a time, or 12th house year is a time where you can really shed light and put the flashlight on that area and face, what am I hiding from? You know, what am I hiding from? And so this is a good time to connect with a trusted person, a therapist, you know, a pro therapist over here. Or an astrologer, because astrologers will see it immediately. I don't think I have to you don't have to tell me anything. I'll see a lot. It's a book of reading if you want. But this is a good time to ask a trusted person in your life, hey, like, what are you seeing? Like, I know that maybe you might have not, you don't feel like you've never felt comfortable telling me, but just asking people, you know, can be a hard pill to swallow, but it's, you know, important. Letting go and surrendering, you know, letting go of things that don't serve you anymore. You know, you've outgrown some things. You know, the 12th house can help you identify where you have, I mean, it's the house of attachments, right? But specifically unhealthy attachments, because the idea about attachment is that, you know, the things you're attached to are attached to your ego and your sun, you know, things that you want in life. And what the 12th house is calling you to do is to dissolve the ego in order to be able to connect to the source, right? To connect, to actually merge and be one with the universe, God, whoever. So that ability to let go and surrender requires, again, you to see where do I have unhealthy attachments, and how can I remove those things, or at least not need them so much, and use them as a crutch in my life in order to survive. But now you remove that attachment, now it can be an opportunity for you to have personal growth and thrive, right? And meditation is going to be huge for that. A lot of meditation, journaling, and things like that. That's that retreat part of the 12th house. Speaking of meditation, the third benefit is that it increases one's spirituality. And again, I think that's a really triggering word for people when they think of the word spirituality. They think it's religion, but it is an opportunity, truly a rich opportunity for you to deepen your spiritual practices and to discover new ones. The veil is really thin. So a person at this time can really tap into their intuition and, dare I say, psychic abilities during this time. And I can tell you that I can vouch for that. And I felt that myself when I would go outside. I just felt like I felt a lot of things coming at me. And it's what a Pisces moon feels all the time. But I felt a lot of things just coming at me. And I was starting to get lightheaded every time I go outside. One time I had to turn around the car because I was picking up the kids, and I was going to pick up the kids, and I was feeling so dizzy. I was fine before, by the way. I felt so dizzy because, again, I felt very sensitive to everything around me, and so it wasn't until I started employing meditation techniques to kind of, and just, trying to quiet myself, was when I finally started being able to get on top of the horse, if you will, and have a little bit more flow. If that makes sense. And so your intuition, again, super heightened, and very psychic ability is amplified. That silent voice inside of you will speak louder as to what are the bad attachments and bad patterning, and self-sabotaging habits that you are engaging in. What are those things in your life, and it'll help illuminate, again, make things clear to you. And it's not just about spirituality and yoga and all that stuff, but it's greater than that. It is the ability to dive deeper and have a deeper connection with the spiritual realm, higher realms. Because with those connections, you can have, hopefully, some type of insight of purpose. And it also astrologically prepares you for the first house year. It's a house of endings and beginnings. And so it's ending an area, a phase, where, again, you're pulling back a little bit, because the next year is going to be a Jupiter year. It's going to be an abundance year. It's going to be a year that might ask a lot of you. And so I love how the universe gives us these cycles so that we can ride them out, and we can, if we are not the ones to give ourselves the retreat, the universe will. So I like that. And if you don't, hopefully you don't fight those things, because then it's, then again, we have, not so great outcomes when you fight it. So let's talk about some of the things I want you to be cautious of during a 12th house year. Isolation. Again, I talked about that briefly, saying, I felt like this need to just withdraw. So depending on your placements, this is a spectrum, right? But you could really pull back to the point where you're not talking to anyone, and you're not being social anymore, and you're just, isolating yourself. And that is not healthy, especially when it's a time of retrospection. You should have a good balance between connecting with others, spiritual, evaluation, meditation, and thought. And again, some of the things that you have to deal with might require the help of others and the insight of others. So finding a balance that is true to you and feels right to you is going to be really important at this time. Another thing that I want you to be cautious of during the 12th house year is escapism or escapist tendencies. So drinking alcohol, all that. I will tell you right now, I don't really like drinking. Saturn's transiting also Pisces for me. And I don't particularly like, I'm a social, I have a Venus in Taurus. I love to drink with people and it feels good and it makes me feel connected to others and things like that. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm good. Let me just drink this water. And honestly, it's a great time to hydrate. This 12th house year is a hydration year. Like, let's just drink all the water. 12th house year, the year of drinking water, because it's I think it's better that way. Again, the veil is really thin, so your ability to also be very sensitive to alcohol or any types of chemicals or things like that, you're going to have a more sensitive impact. You're going to be more sensitive to the impact of those things. So you might have, instead of drinking 3 drinks to get a buzz, you only maybe need 1. You might also feel just a real connection to that. So you just be careful, guys, with the escapist things, video games, movies, TV, all that stuff, all escapists, things that are keeping you away from addressing your day-to-day life. And it's something that you're like, oh, I just need to get away. Be careful. Just be careful with that. We're all talking about spiritual, I'll talk about the spiritual abyss. I'll jump ahead. The spiritual abyss is also another thing. So this idea that there's so the 12th house it has a Piscean tendency. And you always have to worry about Pisces, Neptune going too far, because Pisces energy is watery and it's boundaryless. And so the idea is that, you want to make sure that you don't get, just how I'm saying, okay, get into some spiritual practices, but don't take that even too far. You can take everything too far if you're not cognizant of it. Okay. So it will feel good sometimes to just disconnect. And so again, just be aware of the things that you're doing too much of. Have balance. Always try to strike a balance. Boundaries. Again, we're talking about a Piscean water boundaryless energy with 12th house. And so make sure to be cautious to don't back down on things that you've committed to, committing to yourself, putting yourself first, prioritizing your personal goals and growth. That is something that you need to put a boundary on, especially this time of, and I think naturally you'll be a little tempted into not focusing on yourself. And so I just really recommend that you just focus on yourself, focus on your own boundaries and the path that you're on. Not to say be selfish, but to prioritize yourself, because oftentimes we don't prioritize ourselves. And then also just be cautious of any unresolved issues. That's going to be really emotionally tumultuous to deal with. And that can, again, make you fall into any of the other areas where you can't handle things. And so just be aware and cautious of the fact that, again, the illumination of unresolved issues, traumas, bring up issues of, like, if you had a hard childhood or you had serious trauma in your life, guess what? That's going to come up. It will come up. So you don't want to go turn to escapist tendencies to address those, to deal with it, because it can, depending on how bad the trauma is, it can feel like a torrential rain of just processing. So let's talk about some practical ways to navigate the 12th house here. First off, I think that a lot of self-reflection is going to be required. Not necessarily meditation, but let's just think about, let's just reflect. Journaling is going to be important. Meditation will be important. Check in with yourself daily, monthly. Let people in on that journey. Tell people what you're doing. But give yourself some time. I mean, there's some really nice calendars. I love the Honeycomb Almanac. I have here, I did a video on that showed it. And the Honeycomb Almanac has a lot of space next to the transits. You can take a look at the transits and, fill in how you're feeling and things like that on the side. Just get a calendar that has a lot of information, a lot of space for you to journal. That's going to be really important. So second tip is to build a support team. Your support team being, okay, your husband, your significant other, your parent, a trusted friend, a therapist, an astrologer, right? People who can be on your side to help you navigate this time. And so you can get the best out of this time, finding a good yoga coach, finding a good sound bath studio. Like, those are things, having people that know that you're on this journey and why you're there is really important. Joining, communities, different groups, that support groups, so that you can also be heard and navigate things with people who are going through maybe similar things, who've had similar traumas, whatever. Create a support team so that you can get through this year. And honestly, these practices can carry on throughout the rest of your life, but this is a time for you to, really take advantage of the energies that are there. And then practice self-care. So we're meditating, we're doing a lot of self-care practices. I take a ton of baths. When I'm driving my children to wherever they're going, I'm looking not at the road, I'm looking at the horizon, the beautiful scenery. I'm walking and I'm taking in every leaf, every color, being mindful, meditating. So a lot of people struggle with self-care and even just like this idea of spirituality. So I did come up with a 30-day challenge for tapping into your spirituality, your spiritual self. There are things like meditate for 10 minutes, go on a long walk, a mindfulness walk, taking a food detox, things that get you back into yourself and make you more aware of your body and your spirit and your mind and soul. So check that out in the link down below. I have a calendar challenge for you guys so that you can reference when you want. And again, it doesn't have to just be for 30 days. You could do it. And some of those habits might stick. Who knows? Let me know down in the comments down below if you've done any of those things, if those things are helpful to you. I'd love to know.
And if you're looking for another perspective on the 12th house year, definitely check out my girl Eboni on Homegirl Astrology on YouTube. She's doing a surviving the 12th house year video, and it's taking a mental health approach to it, which I think is really unique. So head on over to her channel and show her some love.
And then also, just be aware that this is a time of spiritual awakening. It's the ability to deepen our sense of connection to, again, source, the higher realms, whatever you want to call it, God. And so take this time as an opportunity to really, again, just connect with that. There's not a lot of times we can have a moment that highlights the importance of spirituality. I know that if you're into astrology, you're already kind of in that space. But if I'm talking to someone who's just running the rat race, I am that person. I work in corporate, like a corporate job, so I get it. And so this time has been really important to me to really just try to find balance, or if not balance, some type of like flow and rhythm. So that pretty much sums up my video for the 12th house year. Just know, again, give yourself compassion, give yourself patience during this time, because it's a immensely transformative period, very introspective period. Don't shy away from it, lean into it. Some of it might be a lot, but again, that's why you take care, you do self-care practices, you build your spiritual team, your 12th house support team, and you get at it. So if you are going through your 12th house year, please comment down below, leave me a message, tell me how it's been for you. I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to, have a little dialogue about it. And to just, share any insights that you have, any self-care tips that you might have. Please share it down below, because I would love for people to benefit from your perspective if you're going through it as well. And I think that that's it for today. Have a great day. And again, if you want a reading from me, go to fourthhouselb.com. My links are down below. If you need anything, hit me up. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.